Hey everybody, welcome to episode 52 of the show. I am Jennie O'Connor, and I help multi-passionate creatives like you kick overwhelm to the curb and fit all your shiny objects into a life and business you love. Today is the date, y'all, the big reveal on the rebrand. New name, new look, same great content, meant to inspire and educate and help you design a lifestyle and especially a business around all of your passions. So, the new title is, drum roll please, Multi-Passionate Like a Boss. Be sure to check out the podcast cover art on Instagram at Your Creative Fairy Godmother. I am really proud of what my designer came up with, and I hope you guys think it's fun and a little sassy like me. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, I want to introduce you guys to David Wood, who I have to say is a pretty high-profile guest. He's been interviewed on John Lee Dumas's Entrepreneurs on Fire podcast, and he is quite literally the perfect guest for this show. Just you wait. After life as a consulting actuary for Fortune 100 companies, David built the world's largest coaching business, becoming #1 on Google for life coaching. Discovering that shiny object syndrome is an epidemic among high performers, he began coaching rockstar business owners so that they could double revenue, achieve more in less time, and be extraordinary entrepreneurs, partners, and parents. Today, he helps these same business owners become the badass leaders people want to follow, creating more authenticity, connection, confidence, and revenue. And you guys, there is so much good stuff in this interview. You're probably going to want to take notes. Hi, David. How are you doing today?
Having a really good day. Thanks.
I love it.
Feeling good.
Thank you for joining me. I'm so looking forward to digging into this conversation with you. So I want to ask you, do you consider yourself an everything enthusiast, or do you just help others with shiny object syndrome learn how to overcome it?
Well, one thing I was going to ask you about is what the everything enthusiast means, but now I think I get it. Yeah, sure. I have shiny object syndrome. I think if you're alive, it's natural to like, what's that cool thing? And it's great. The issue is, I think for many of us, it start with adrenaline and dopamine and feeling good. And then it's pretty easy for it to go over into overwhelm. Mm-hmm. And so that's no fun. And then the other thing is sometimes you get a year, 2 years, 5 years down the track and realize you're not actually producing anything or making any change or moving towards your goals or even setting great goals. And shiny object syndrome, I think, can get in the way of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it plagues a lot of us more than others, but certainly if you are an entrepreneur or someone who is a serial entrepreneur, you can fall victim to this a lot. And so that is why I was so excited to talk to you. Your company is literally called Focus. So I know that you're going to have some really great advice for my audience.
Yeah, so, Focus.ceo is the company.
Yeah, like you're the perfect candidate to have come on the show.
Great.
So let's say you have the world's most overwhelmed, to call us squirrel brained, because we're doing a thing and then we're like squirrel, right? So let's say you have someone standing in front of you who is the most easily distractible squirrel brained individual. What is step one?
Yeah, I think step one, I like to bring people back to basics. And so we'll start even before we go on our first call. I have an intake form that has some very probing questions. And I want to work out, where are we heading? Like a year from now, what does success look like? Because if you don't know that, how are you going to know what's just an extraneous squirrel and what's actually important? It's really hard to tell. So on the macro level, where are we going? And for example, with my life, it's easy to draw on my life right now. I'd like to pursue acting. I'm going to continue coaching. I'm going to continue speaking. I'm going to launch this book, Mouse in the Room. I'll do all that. But now I want to act, and I have a goal of being the lead in a major film. That's something I'd like. So you work out, where are we going? But a year is too far out. We start with that, but that's kind of pie in the sky. What does that mean for what I do today? Well, let's just backtrack. Let's backtrack. And 3 months from now, what would have you do the happy dance that would have you be fully on track to those goals that we already set? And often people get a little lost with goal setting. So I say, just give me 3 business goals and 3 personal goals for 12 months. Then show me the milestone for each of those. Like, how do we know that it's time to do the happy dance and celebrate 3 months from now? That starts to focus the brain. And then it's still too far out. So what are you going to do this week? What are you going to choose to care about? And what are you going to choose not to care about? And that's the hard bit, because the squirrel brain wants to do it all. And that's where it gets overwhelming. And then you're not actually moving towards those milestones. So my clients who want more focus, I have them do a weekly plan. So every week they've got to work out, what am I going to do? And it's really easy once you've got the milestones. You just look at the milestones and say, okay, out of all of that, what's on my list? And what didn't get done last week? Am I going to drop it? Am I going to delegate it? Am I going to do it myself, or am I going to postpone it? But we need the CEO hat on. I wish I had I don't know where I put my focus.ceo hat. You want to put your CEO hat on once a week, 5 to 10 minutes. That's all. That's all. That's a CEO date with yourself to say, this is my plan for the week. These are the things I'm going to do. I'm going to create a little space for things that are going to pop up that seem urgent. And then the rest of the things, can you play a game called, I will not do that because it's not in my, people want a call with me, or they want this, or can I review this, or can I do whatever? Can you say, I can't do that this week, but I can do it next week? It's not easy to do. But if you can do that, then you can have a sense of satisfaction. Like at the end of the week, wow, look, you actually did the stuff on your plan and you moved the ball further down the field towards the things that you said are important. That's the weekly plan. What do I do tomorrow? Or when I wake up tomorrow morning, what do I do? Because you can still chase squirrels. Even though you've done this wonderful planning, at least you now know this is on my list for this week. Now you can spot if you're going off track. If you find that you're on Facebook and you just sat down to do a sprint for 2 hours to crank some stuff out, I've said out loud to myself, step away from the website. Step away from Amazon.
From the rabbit hole. Yep.
Yeah. I just chased a squirrel. It was all about renting a car and like, how am I going to get more stuff out to LA cheaply? And I chased that squirrel in the last, just before I got on the call with you. It's not on my list.
Yep.
It's not on my list. Well, no, it is on my list for today. It just wasn't in the top 4 or 5, but I got excited and that was fine. I was willing to do that. But when we're done with this call, I'm going to go back to that list. I'm going to cross 3 things off it. And the game is, can I do those things without chasing a squirrel?
Right.
So we've talked about the macro when we look at a year out, 3 months out, 7 days out. And then what are you going to do tomorrow when you wake up? Probably pick the 2 most important things on your 7-day weekly plan. And then you get even more focused, 2-hour sprint. I even think 2 hours is too long. I block off 2 hours, but then I set a timer for 25 minutes. Now that gets me focused. I've got 25 minutes and I've got a specific goal for that 25 minutes. I'm going to knock off this one and half of the second thing on the list. Timer goes off, get up, walk around, maybe do some push-ups, make a cup of tea.
Take a break in between.
Yeah, it's called the Pomodoro Method. And I think it's very clever. When that alarm goes off, I don't want to stop because I'm in the middle of everything.
So guilty. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you keep going and you do 2 hours straight or 3 hours or 6 hours, which I'm sometimes prone to do, then I'm exhausted and burned out and I don't want to work tomorrow. So it's kind of clever, this Pomodoro technique. When the alarm goes off, force yourself within the next minute to get up. You'll find that you might be hungry to get back to what it was because like, I was productive. All right, I'm going to get up. I'm going to move the body. Okay, let's get back down. I can talk myself into doing 25 minutes of anything. Yeah. So it's very clever.
Yeah. I was going to ask you if you utilize the Pomodoro method and then how long your sprints were, because I think 25 is the one that they recommend most frequently. Because like you say, anyone can do anything for 25 minutes. 2 hours, on the other hand, I might not really feel like engaging in that
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yesterday I sat down to do bookkeeping, and I
Ugh.
hate bookkeeping. But the hardest bit is the starting it.
Yeah.
Once I was in, and I managed to respond to my bookkeeper's queries, I wanted to keep going. I actually had to leave for another appointment, but I wanted to keep going. So it's quite clever. Block off sprints. And I often will get my clients to block off time in their calendar where they can sit down and get concentrated work done. My Wednesdays, I don't do any podcast interviews or any coaching calls, so that it's free to focus on work. And then ideally I'll wake up. I might do the morning pages, which is another technique. You just journal,
I
stream of
love them.
consciousness. I did that this morning. And, you might look at your 7-day plan, say, all right, what am I going to do today? And then, okay, 3-hour sprint. I'll even line up someone sometimes to co-work. Say, do you want to co-work? We'll go to a cafe and we'll co-work, or we'll get on Zoom. At the top of the hour, we'll say what we're going to do, and we'll check in, say 90 minutes from now. Did you do it? Did we do it? It's accountability. I know
You are so much less likely to scroll on social media if you're on a Zoom call with someone, like, right? I
Yep,
mean, it's
yep.
so good for that, I think.
Yeah. So we're layering things now. We've layered the setting the goals way out, and then bringing it right back to 2 hours, and then 25 minutes. And then if you add some accountability, that you've got someone else on and you've said, this is what I'm going to do. And then in an hour or 90 minutes, you're going to check in and have to say you did it or you didn't. I found that such an eye opener the first time I did it. It's amazing the squirrels that I was chasing. And then I'd get to the top of the hour and I'd have to report I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I just got off track. So that's so important for you to become aware of how many squirrels you're chasing, so that you can start to get some focus back in on what matters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I so agree. And so I'm intrigued by this concept of sell them what they want, give them what they need. And I wonder if you would agree, like, everybody who comes to me is like, I need help with focus. Focus is my main issue. But I think what you just explained is clarity is actually the main issue. Because once you have that, once you've set those goals, that week goal, that 3-month goal, that year goal, what needs to be worked on first becomes apparent. Would you agree?
It can be. That's often part. I would call it step one is the clarity.
Yeah.
What matters, and it's often hard because when you're in it, you're in your own head. And you've been with all these thoughts for so long and you see so many options, it's often hard to get what I've heard called the clarity of distance. And what a coach can bring is a clarity of distance. They're not inside your head.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can see all the different pieces that someone's trying to hold. And I might have another viewpoint. Like, I think, is it possible you're trying to hold too much?
Mm-hmm.
And now, what if you delayed that 3 months and just focused on this?
Mm-hmm.
But they needed someone to point that out. And then they might say, yeah, that's, I feel some relief at that idea, or no, I can't drop that. Okay, let's work out what else we're going to do. Okay, you need to do this. I've got someone right now who's building a business and trying to flee Romania, which borders on the Ukraine.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow, that's amazing that you're taking all this on. And I'm helping her with, self-care,
Mm-hmm.
which is so important. And then working out what comes first, because it's so easy to get off. And like, I had a question, what about this target market? That might be interesting too. I said, yeah, but it's going to take you away from the main one that you've already identified.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take you away from that. How about you do this first one really well? But I can see that because I'm outside. I had another client say, I've got this opportunity to buy a business for $1 million. And I think it's worth maybe, 1.3. So this is a good opportunity. Can we talk about it? And I said, let me get this straight. With all the free time you have and the fact that you've become number one in your industry and you've got market penetration and there's nothing else you can do to improve your current business, and you got so much free time already to spend with your family. I was being sarcastic. You've decided you'll just add a business on top of all this. And you came to me initially because you have shiny object syndrome.
Because you're feeling overwhelmed. Right.
Yeah. And he said, okay, let's move on.
Isn't that
It
fascinating?
was
You
that
just have to
simple.
have someone else say it to you to have it sort of sink into your brain.
Yeah. Now he could have pushed back. And if he's going to push back, fine. I had a client session today. She's interested in having her own TV show. And it's been kind of dragging on for a couple of years. And she was wondering, do I keep going on this or do I not? And I was like, well, it sounds like the air's come out of the balloon with this and it's not really happening. And the producer's not really enrolled in shopping it around. Why don't you see if you can enroll him? And if not, you drop it. Then I was like, but wait a minute. Is this like coming from deeper within you? Is this not just to get new clients, but you feel like it'll be self-expression for you and it'll be something exciting and fun? And she said, yeah, that's kind of why I've been angling at this. And I said, well, that's different.
Mm-hmm.
That's different. Maybe we need to add this to the goals and work out how to fit it in with everything else. Maybe you drop something else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for that. But in the conversation, we get to work out, is this a distraction? Or is this like for me, you could say acting as a distraction from something else, from the book launch. Well, it feels important. It's something I want to do. It's been bubbling for 10 years. So we're going to do acting and the book launch and coaching and building community.
It's ambitious, but that's what I'm all about. So I love hearing you say it too. I'm not the only one who has 5 plates spinning in the air at the same time.
Yeah. Well, look, the sweet spot for everybody is different. And what I want for every listener is that you find your own sweet spot. I think we go through cycles. So you might have a cycle, you're in a cycle where you're kind of becoming stagnant and you're kind of sick of the same old place that you live in, or the relationship needs some spicing up, or you need a new career, or it's time to move locations, or whatever. Or you want to become an actor or a singer or go swim with dolphins, or I've always wanted to live in Brazil, learn 5 languages. I got a big list of stuff. You may be in a stagnant cycle and you need to add more things on. But then at the other end of the spectrum, a lot of us have been adding things on and opening up new loops, like, joined a gym or started a singing lesson or started a new relationship, or I got this going on. And at work, I'd like to do extra projects. And you may have gotten to a place where it's actually you're a bit scattered and you feel a bit overwhelmed. You need to rein it back in. Mm-hmm. And so then it's time to complete things and drop things. Okay, I'm going to say no to that. It's too much right now. I'm going to say no to that. I'm going to drop this. I'm going to hire someone to handle that. So everyone's got their own unique situation and work out, is it time to rein it back in and complete and simplify, which I imagine is true for many listeners because they've been attracted to your podcast? Or is it time to go and add something big, like a TV show, to promote your business?
It's interesting you would bring this up because I just did an episode about how to determine when a new idea is worth pursuing, and then a follow-up episode, how to determine when enough is enough. Because I think people like us often feel occasionally like all we are is quitters. We've stopped so many things. We have so many uncompleted projects. So how do we know when it really is time, when this is really not worth the investment anymore, or whether we're just sticking around because of the sunk costs and we feel like just guilty? And I just think it's really interesting, like important to have a framework that you can run, a situation through so that, I feel good. I'm making the right decision here. But I wanted to ask you, to the point you were just making, do your clients struggle with saying no? Because I feel like that's really important. For this, right? Like, it sounds like you might maybe struggle with saying no.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like I got a good balance now, but at times I'm like, I'm adding too much. When I started the acting, I went and auditioned for playback theater, which is an audience member tells a story and then the improv troupe plays it back instantly and draws out the deeper lessons. It's quite amazing. And I went and auditioned and they offered me a place in the troupe. I stuck at it because it was good acting training and I liked the people and it was an edge for me. It was very scary. to do this kind of
Improv
thing.
is terrifying. I'm
Yeah.
so impressed that you pursued it.
Well, improv is, yeah, I find it terrifying, and I've done a lot of it. This form of improv was even way scarier for me because I could do a scene like someone says, all right, unicorn in the bathroom, go. I can walk out and we'll just make it up on the spot. And the audience is like, oh my God, that was amazing, because it's coming from nothing. But when you've just heard the story, from the audience member, you know what's going to happen. You can't just replay it.
Right.
Because they've already heard it. You've got to do like a dream sequence or abstract movement and cloth, or you're going to do some time travel to how it might end up in the future. You've got to be more right-brained. And that's why it was terrifying for me, but it was stretching me, because now I've got a short film that I'm doing and I'm in this play and I've got my business. And so eventually I had to wind back what I was doing.
How do you advise your own clients to learn to discern when no is the right response?
I'll go a little deeper. I think we could go even deeper than that. I've got a couple of clients recently. I noticed this last week. One client, I said in the middle of the call, do you have any trouble saying no? And the answer was yes. And, he identified that he's working too many hours and he's just putting so much into this business. It's not even his business. And I was just wondering what's underneath that. So what we identified is there's a part in him, in his personality, that wants to help and wants to support and doesn't want to say no and doesn't want to let people down. And this is driving all those work hours. Mm-hmm. So I gave him an exercise to help integrate those parts, because he's got that part and he's got another part that's asking, what would I do if I wasn't working so much? How could I use that time? What would I want to do in life? And so we're exploring that journey. And then another client wants to take on everything, he's got people wanting to hire him and he wants to say yes to everything. And one thing he does is sometimes he reviews products. They send him free products and it's fun and interesting and whatever. And I'm like, where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
And what I asked him was, what value do you put on your time per hour? And he said, maybe about $500 an hour. I was like, okay, my guess is it should be higher, because it's not just what you could get from consulting at 500, it's what you could get in working on your business. And, it's probably worth more. So are you really going to do these product reviews for $200 for a couple of hours? Like, if you love it and it's a hobby and you do it on the side, okay, but you seem to be taking on a lot of stuff and you've got goals. You want to create a nonprofit. Mm-hmm. You want to serve, people, the formerly incarcerated population in the US. You've got things you want to do. We had to get back to that part of him that's driving it. And it's coming from a financial scarcity, it turns out. Belief to gotta take every opportunity and hoard that money.
Yeah.
So again, here's an exercise. Go and work it out between the different parts of you so that you can come into alignment.
I think that's brilliant, because we are do-it-yourselfers. Like, somebody needs a website built, so I can figure that out, because I believe that multi-passionate people are so competent at so many things. We can. If I wanted to figure out how to build a website, I absolutely could. But what a great exercise to put a value on your like hourly rate, as an example. And if you can pay someone else who plays at what you have to work at to do that for less, obviously that frees up your time to go do something that you absolutely enjoy, right?
Oh yeah. Wait, I listened, I think it was maybe an interview with Rhonda Britton a long time ago. She wrote a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Yeah. And she would talk about how she wouldn't even buy coffee, because that latte for say $4 or $3 back then could buy half an hour of someone's time to help her promote her coaching or work on the back end of something so she could be out promoting her coaching. And I was like, every spare dollar went towards support. And something fascinating happens as soon as your time is worth, let's say, $15 an hour. Let's say you can make $15 an hour, or let's say 20 at your job or in your business. Maybe you're a consultant, or maybe you can do something on the side. But as soon as you've got that you can earn, say, $20 an hour, it no longer makes sense for you to do your own laundry if you don't like doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense. Why would you do that? You're basically paying yourself to do your own laundry. What you could do, I got a personal assistant a few months ago to come and do some light cleaning, return my Amazon packages that I was going to take, unbox stuff, put out the garbage, cook up stuff in an Instapot for the next 4 nights meals, and do smoothies for 2 weeks. So
Brilliant.
do all of these things and brush my dog's teeth and take my dog for a quick walk, all the stuff that I wasn't getting around to.
Mm-hmm.
If you're earning $20 an hour, do more of that and then pay someone 15.
Yeah.
You could get a high school student or someone who wants some extra money and would be grateful for it. It no longer makes sense for you to do all those things you don't want to do. And as soon as you do that, that frees up more time that you can work on your business or in your job, trying to get a promotion, or maybe do a little overtime if they allow that. You can do that and pay people to do the stuff you don't want. And you've got that differential of you're earning 20, you're paying them 15, you're making $5 an hour on the deal.
Yeah, this is such good advice. And it's a struggle for people to get to a point where they feel like they can afford to hire help.
It's a chicken and egg thing. I just coached a client today who finally quit his job. He was working 40 hours a week, really good job, but his business was taking off. And I'm like, I'm looking forward to the day where you take the plunge. He's finally done it. And I want him to leverage even more. And it's like, I realize if you had more cash flow, you'd be willing to do it. But if you had the people, you could generate the cash flow. Yeah. So initially in a business, you do a lot yourself. And it's also good because you get to learn what's needed and you work out, how to do it. Like initially I started booking my own podcasts because I needed to work out a system. Mm-hmm. Once I worked out a system, I hired someone and trained him, and he's been working for over a year booking podcasts. Like you probably dealt with Mitko.
Yeah.
There's a system. It doesn't make sense.
He dealt with Anna, who's my person doing the same thing.
Look, there we go. I'll have my people talk to your people.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then that frees me up to do other things. And it's just such an amazing thing. But don't wait too long. Don't be like, oh, no, I can't even afford to do. Now, look, there's an exception to this. If you can't get more work, like let's say you've got a job and you're working 40 hours. If you are already strapped for cash and you can't work extra hours at the company, that's a little harder. Mm-hmm. That's a little harder. Now, for me, I have confidence that I can generate more than $20 an hour from working on my business. Mm-hmm. I trust that it'll work out. So then it makes sense for me to do it. If you can't even find any extra work, okay, it's a bit different. But maybe you could do some consulting on the side, or take a gig and you're getting $30 an hour for doing that gig. I can do some acting stuff. I can get paid. I've only just started 8 months ago, but already I could get like $50 to $100 an hour as an actor. That money can go straight to someone who I could hire to pitch me for other acting roles.
Yeah.
And the thing feeds itself. Now you've got an engine. I've realized how much time I'm spending on Craigslist trying to find an apartment in Los Angeles. That was good to do initially for maybe the first 10 to 20 hours. But now when I come back to it in 3 weeks, I'm hiring somebody. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to do that. Have someone else reach out, call out to people, find out what's available, set up virtual tours for me. I should not be doing that anymore, but it was good for the first 20 hours.
Yeah, I agree that knowing how things work is important. I'm sort of wondering where that liminal point is, where it switches, because it sounds to me like it is a little bit of a leap of faith. Like, I trust more work will be coming down the pipeline. So now is when I take the plunge and I hire my first virtual assistant or whatever the thing is. So you might have to push yourself outside of your comfort zone. Would you say?
Yes.
Yeah,
that's well said. You might have to take a little bit of a leap of faith eventually. but that also could be useful because now you have a motivation to bring in more revenue in the business so that you can
Exactly.
pay this
Fire lit under
person.
your ass right there, right?
Yeah, yeah, because I don't like it. I've had some cash squeezes at times, and I've had to cut back people to 50% of their hours, and that's taken a step back. But it's motivation to go and get more clients so that I can keep fueling the engine, keep doing podcast interviews like this one, and keep affording the social media person that might pull out a clip or two from this and then put it out on the blog and to email. So it's leverage. Now, one thing that I think we should do probably once a week, and haven't worked out yet how to build this into an automated system, except having a coach, because the coach is kind of the automatic system that'll challenge you on this. But looking at your task list and asking yourself, should I do all of this? Is that, should I be doing all of this on this list? And often we're in autopilot.
Can that be a part of the CEO date? Because I love this concept of a CEO date, and I am terrible at the review portion of my life. I do not do it at the end of the day or at the end of the week as frequently as I should. Could we build that into that time?
Yeah. In fact, I'm thinking that's such a good idea. I could build it into the self-coaching form I have for my clients and say, is there anything on your list for this next week that you should not be doing?
Yeah. Yes.
I do what I call a 4D audit with my clients. What on this list should you delegate? What on this list should you delay? Because now isn't the right time. What should you delete? Because it really doesn't add that much to your life. It just seems like something you're supposed to do. And then the rest of it is what you are left with. That's what you'll do.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm going to add that question to my form. And yes, you could include it in your CEO date. So your CEO date could be really simple. It could be like, what must be done in the next 7 days? And I've had clients that it can't work out of all the 50 things that they have trouble with the prioritizing. But let's suppose you already know it. You're like, oh, well, this must be done in the next 7 days. This is bonus. And then what should I not be doing on this list would be the next question. And I'm excited about that. I want to bring it more. In fact, I think here's what I'm going to do, because I'm big into structure to support ourselves in any new thing. So I'm going to write on a Post-it note right now, what could someone else be doing? And I'm going to tape that to my computer screen.
Yay. It's so funny because I apply this in other, I have this conversation with my own clients, but I don't utilize it when I sit down and do my weekly review.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we had this conversation for this very reason.
Yeah. While we're talking, I went and brought up my list for today, and I just looked over it. I'm like, is this something I shouldn't be doing? And the answer is no. All of these things are very simple, quick things that is just easier for me to do, and they're not long-term systemic things. So there's an answer to your question. Is it something like, sometimes it's just quicker for you to do it, but if this is going to come up over and over and over again, then it's time to invest in hiring and training someone, which is, a lot of people don't love it. I don't love it, but that's really, I think, the main job of the business owner is to hire and train the right people and motivate them so that they can handle things for you. With the Craigslist, initially, it was quicker for me to just jump in and see what's available and ask questions and see who's responding and why they're not responding. And I learned stuff. I'm like, okay, a lot of things are available now. They're not available in 6 weeks.
Right.
They want people now. So it's a bit early. So I learned that. And now I can see I'm going to need another 20 or 30 hours probably on Craigslist. So now it's time to go and hire someone. I'll probably pay, if I can get someone for $20 an hour, that's great. I'll probably pay 25 because I'll get someone a little bit higher up on the chain that's a bit more maybe motivated. So that's one way to work out, should I do it? Is it something repetitive that keeps going on? Also, is it something that can be systematized?
Sure.
This podcast booking I had to come up with a system. I don't know if anyone else using it. It's a pretty cool system I came up with. Then I trained someone in it and he's running with it. With the social media stuff, I had to chop it up first. I had to go and look at the interviews and work out what's a good start point and end point, and then what are we going to do with this video? Okay, we need a maybe a 4 or 5 minute clip, and then we need a 1 minute Instagram version, and then I'd like a quote, like an image quote, and we were doing audiograms for a while, and then I want it to be a blog post with a little bit, bullet points about what we covered. And then I wanted to go on YouTube. I had to work all this stuff out. It took 2 to 4 weeks of me doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have one person do all of those things for you, or is it different people? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
That's the other thing. You look at everything that needs to be done and you're like, where can I bunch this up?
Yeah.
And I got someone who knows how to edit a video and had a bit of social media experience and was smart, and also was a coach herself. In fact, she told me that she trained at the school that I set up back in 2001.
Oh my gosh.
And so she already knew about me, and she was already, I don't know if this is true, but possibly a fan of my work. And so the bonus was then she would know what was good because she's in the field. So she'd be like, oh, this is a good clip. This is a good ending point. This is fluff. We don't need that. I needed that discernment.
Yeah.
And then I had to do the training manual. That was hard because it was quite complex. I had to break it down. Okay, step 1, 2, 3, 4, and a checklist, because there's so many details.
Yeah.
So many details. And I'm just so grateful for her now. There's a book you brought up, How Do I Know If an Idea is Worth Pursuing? There's a book I really enjoyed by Seth Godin called The Dip. And
I'm not familiar with that one, but I have a Seth Godin book up here. So
it's an easy read. And the essence of it to me seemed to be look ahead and work out what's involved in any new thing, and work out if you have the resources to make it through the dip, because initially it's going to be a lot of work with no reward. Anything with any rewards is probably going to be difficult. Otherwise, everyone would have done it and gotten the rewards, and then there's no more rewards left. So like becoming a doctor, huge dip. And what I got from the book is it's fine to say, no, I'm not going to pursue it because I don't have what it takes to go through it all the way. And it's fine to go through the dip and get to the rewards. You don't want to get 3/4 of the way through the dip and go, oh my God, I didn't have enough money or time or willpower to do this thing. Most people, is this true? Most people, a huge percentage of people who pursue the profession of an actuary don't make it. And it's not like you get 80% through and you get 80% of the salary. No, it's really not that great if you don't qualify. Like you did all the medical training, but you didn't qualify as a surgeon.
Yeah.
Right. Or you didn't qualify as a doctor. You could do some stuff with it, but you're not a doctor yet. The dip is massive, and no one explained to me how deep the dip was. It was blood, sweat, and tears for years for me to qualify. So you want to work out what the dip is. Now, when you're hiring someone, this is why I brought up the dip again. When you're hiring someone, there's a dip. You're going to go through a week to 4 weeks or even longer of screening people, interviewing people, and then training people and writing the manuals or going through it before they get up to a point where they're providing a return on that investment.
Yeah. I like to say your life gets harder for about a month before it gets infinitely easier.
You said it much more succinctly than I did. Yes.
Yeah. And I had to learn that the hard way. I made the mistake of hiring like 3 people simultaneously at one point, and I will never do that again because I couldn't do anything of my own, that needed to get done because everybody needed my help. But where do you find your people? I mean, it sounds like this woman that you hired was an absolute serendipitous find, but do you use any platforms for hiring like Upwork or anything?
Yeah,
like
I use Upwork.
Okay.
I use Upwork. So I found my podcast guy from Upwork. When I want someone for this Craigslist stuff, I'll probably post in my local community, like on Facebook. I'll post there, say, hey, I'm looking for someone for this. I might post on my Facebook wall. So anyone who's been following me or knows me. It might be a friend. I posted for a personal assistant on Facebook because that had to be local.
Mm.
And my ex-girlfriend said she wanted the job.
All right.
And,
You see,
and,
you know,
and
you can trust her, right?
well, I knew she had some training in communication and detail and being cause in the world. And so I was like, yeah, okay. And she was really good.
Fabulous.
So I'll probably, and I'll post on Upwork because you get to say, here's my job, here's how much I want to pay. And then you want to do some screening. And I'll probably ask 3 questions as the initial screening. People who don't read that, I don't respond to if they didn't answer the questions.
Yeah, I have a trick for Upwork because I find that so few people actually read all the way through the job description. Somewhere in it, I write, if you apply to this job, mention green M&Ms. Yeah.
That's good.
Because
Yeah.
like 70% of the people do not mention it, and I just instantly delete them.
You know, when I look at Craigslist ads for apartments, I was doing a bit of a spammy shotgun approach at just cutting and pasting my my questions and requests. But I would scroll to the bottom of the ad to see if they had anything specific that they wanted, because sometimes it's an owner who really cares about who they're getting in there, and they're saying, please respond and let me know this and that. So I look for that to see if there's something like it. But I like to give 3 questions on Upwork, and the way they answer that will show me something about their intelligence, maybe something about their creativity. I might say, how would you go about finding me an apartment? What are 3 principles you'd apply? Or
Cool.
what do you think the key is? I'll come up with something like that. And then some people just don't even answer them. I'm like, you're done.
Yeah.
But the people who do, then I might move to a next stage, which could be a paid test. And I say, look, I'll pay you for an hour to get started. And I might hire 3 people and pay them and give them the same task and see who impresses me. And then that'll be the person that I go forward with.
Yeah, that's really good tips. I made the mistake early on in my career, just kind of like hiring willy-nilly. And I've learned that you have to have some like identifiable criteria that you use in order to find really, really good people. Otherwise you'll end up with some hack jobs.
Yep.
You know, yeah. Well, David, this has been amazing. I could literally keep you on and ask you a dozen more questions, but I wanted to know if there is anything else you wanted to talk about before I ask where people can find you. I know I see Mouse in the room in the background. Would you like to talk about that really quickly?
Yeah, thanks. So Mouse in the Room is a book that we're launching in the next couple of months, I think. And it's because the elephant is not alone.
Okay. I'm
So
intrigued.
we all know about the elephant in the room. You see it, I see it, no one's saying anything. And, addressing the elephant is a good idea. But many creatures in the room are much more subtle. It could be a feeling you have. It could be something going on with your body. It could be a thought that you've had that you haven't shared. And the book is about identifying those, because we don't even know what our own mice are most of the time. We're not paying attention. So working out more what's going on with you and then naming that mouse so that you can have more connection, more confidence, and better leadership. Because when you do this, you generate more trust. Where people can find out more about me is there are a number of options, but something that can make a difference if you have a business. If you have a business and it's already up and running, I have a program called the Samurai program. And I was charging over $1,000 for it. I'm now doing something different, which I'm doing as an experiment, charging nothing for it.
Wow.
And so what I'm doing is asking for an accountability bond. And you pay this bond up front, which is $990. And if you complete the lessons, and it's an 8-week program, but I give you 10 weeks. If you complete the lessons and watch the videos and do your homework, send me an email, say, I did it in a time frame. I'll give you all your money back. Yeah. And you get
this
live
is
coaching.
Brilliant, because
Thank
people
you.
don't finish their programs ever. This is the
A lot of people don't, and I want them to do it. And so you get not only 8 weeks of very short lessons, like my video lessons, some of the videos are like 4 minutes. So it's really short, easy to consume. And then you also get live coaching with me twice a month. We get on a group coaching call, and I dive in with you. It's really awesome. I've never offered it before. We've just set it up, and you're the first podcast that I'm actually offering this. The link for that is doublerevenue.net. That'll take you to the accountability bond page. And I'm going to go further. If you use the coupon commitment, that's just one simple word. Use the coupon commitment. It'll take, I think it takes $500 off your accountability bond.
Oh
so you can even get in for half the bond. So that's a Samurai program. If you have a business, if you're in pure startup mode and don't have any revenue yet, I'd say that's not for you. I can better help people who've already gotten a start. But also, if you go to doublerevenue.net, you can see the menu of options that I have there. You can subscribe to my podcast if you want to hear the Extraordinary Focus podcast. You can get a couple of videos a week that I send out on the issues we've talked about today. And you can also request a coaching session. Just click on coaching and request a session with me. I don't charge for those initial sessions.
Wow.
Because it's how I find the right people to work with for private coaching if you're looking for one-on-one coaching. So those are some options, and doublerevenue.net. I tried to get a very simple, easy to remember URL. Go and check that out.
What a deal. That is amazing. Thank you for sharing it with my audience. I want to go sign up for it right now.
Yeah.
Add it to my list of 100 things that I'm doing. But
right.
that is incredible. Wow. That is absolutely so generous of you. And this was an amazing conversation, David. I am so happy that you graced me with your presence for the last hour. And thank you so very much.
My pleasure. Pleasure to meet you.
I'll talk to you soon. Wow. I hope that you guys got as much out of that conversation as I did. As always, thank you so very much for listening. If you found this content valuable enough to warrant a tip, you can show your appreciation by visiting buymeacoffee.com/Jennie O'Connor. Or you can support the show by rating and reviewing, which will irrefutably make you my favorite person ever. Before I bid you farewell, I simply have to tell you about the new membership I'm launching in April, the Achievers Academy, where you can work alongside other multi-passionates to make real progress on your most audacious goals. We will hold each other accountable with weekly check-ins and co-working sessions, monthly live trainings with hot seat coaching, productivity and time management strategies, meet and greets, talent swaps, and prizes for the folks who make the most progress in a quarter. If you have been talking about wanting to do something and you are finally ready to actually do it, get more info and sign up at JennieO'Connor.com/achievers. Until next time, remember that obstacles don't block the path, you guys. They are the path. Now get on out there and do the thing.